Spider-Man is dead. I'm done with it. I'm over it. I can't. Roll him up in his own webbing and throw him into the Hudson for all I care. Everything was fine until No Way Home crash landed into theaters, and apparently we all decided that storytelling just means shake the nostalgia tree and see which Spider-Man falls out. So what? The multiverse is just a cameo vending machine now? You don't have to write new villains anymore? You don't have to give Peter an actual emotional arc? You just punch a hole in reality and drag out whichever guy in spandex you remember from your childhood? You want drama? Don't even bother. Just line up 3 exhausted actors and have them point at each other for 2 hours. And that ending. They wipe everyone's memories, erase Peter's entire life, but somehow he still has a perfectly tailored new suit made out of what? Pure heartbreak and thread he bought with what money? He no longer has any legal tender. Explain that to me. Explain to me how a kid with no identity, no diploma, no social security, and no online account still manages to afford web fluid. And of course, they brought back the old villains because we can't let anything stay finished. No, we have to resurrect every single guy who ever fell into a science experiment and yell redemption at them while they get cured by a USB stick? But it's not just No Way Home. Oh no. This goes deeper. This is rot. This is systematic. Far From Home turns Spider-Man into Iron Man's exchange student, Peter Parker. Champion of the working class, friendly neighborhood Spider-Man is now in charge of orbital murder drones because his billionaire boss gave him sunglasses? Sunglasses! A child got a global assassination network and a pair of Ray-Bans. Why even have Spider-Man swing around when he can accidentally drone strike half of Europe during a school trip? Mysterio shows up and his big master plan is fake news holograms and threatenizing theater kids, and we're supposed to believe that the genius of Tony Stark left his tech to a teenager with the emotional stability of a dropped iPhone? Great work. Amazing. Perfect. Perfect legacy. Great. That's great. And Homecoming. Don't get me started on Homecoming. He's finally in the MCU. Yeah. And every 5 minutes, the movie pokes you in the rib and says, hey, remember Iron Man, though? Remember you actually like that guy? Peter doesn't get to be poor. He doesn't get to be desperate. He gets a Stark internship. He doesn't build his suit out of sweat and guilt. He gets Stark tech with a British AI and 900 web modes. You know, just like the classic comics where Spider-Man accidentally deploys an instant kill in high school hallways. He used to be a kid with a sewing kit and a dream. Now he's a walking product demo. Scan the QR code on his mask for more Stark content. And for what? What was this all for? So they could kill Tony and dump the universe's emotional baggage on Peter's head and go, now this is the real Spider-Man arc. Trauma speedrun, I guess. Wonderful. I love it when an entire character's personality is recontextualized to service the corpse of another franchise. But honestly, as much as the MCU twisted him into intern Iron Man, it could be worse because then you look at the Sony Spider-Man universe and things get feral. The Sony universe is like Spider-Man's weird extended family reunion no one wanted to attend. You've got characters who vaguely know his cousin's dentist and somehow they all get solo movies. Venom, for example, used to be terrifying. Big teeth, black goo, nightmare fuel. Now he's a loud goo boyfriend who gets chicken and calls Eddie a loser. He's not a villain, he's a ship culture gone wrong. Let There Be Carnage is a rom-com where the slime has relationship issues. Morbius is a movie that feels like it escaped from 2003 and got lost in a CVS. It's like someone said, we own the rights to the word Morbius. That's gotta be worth something, right? And then Madam Web stumbles in like a dream someone had on NyQuil. You're too important to the future. To who? To what? To which Spider-Man? Do they even know his name? Everything is adjacent to Spider-Man. Related, connected, spiritually aligned. Anything but actually having him there doing the thing. It's like building the entire DC universe around Bruce Wayne's cousin or something. And we're supposed to trust these people with the character? Sony looked at Spider-Man, looked at the multiverse and said, what if we did all this, but with none of the bits people like? So yeah, the MCU ruined Spider-Man along with Sony's involvement, but Sony ruined it far before that. Remember The Amazing Spider-Man when Andrew Garfield showed up? People lost their minds because Peter Parker skateboards? That's where the line is. Not giant lizards, not cross-species genetics, not cranes forming a perfect web-swinging lane down New York because they love construction safety. No. A skateboard. He's too cool now. He's not allowed to be all tall and have hair. That's against canon. The lizard looks like a lab experiment crossed with a Ninja Turtle. Everything's blue and gray and moody, and in the second one, Jamie Foxx gets electrocuted by eels and somehow gains the power of dubstep. Then they jam in Green Goblin and Electro and Rhino into one film like they're trying to speedrun the Sinister Six. People walked out of that going, they ruined Spider-Man. This is the worst thing that ever happened to him. He'll never recover from this now. Of course, now, years later, everyone sobs about how Andrew Garfield deserves a third film. But at the time, no mercy, no grace, just blood in the comments section. But guess what? Even that wasn't the beginning of the end. Before the skateboard, before the eel, before the CGI glow stick, we had Raimi's Spider-Man. And people were mad about that too, because he was the patron saint of superhero cinema. Because Sam Raimi was the first guy to ruin Spider-Man with wrist goo. Organic webbing is the first great sin. Peter Parker is supposed to build complicated web shooters with chemicals and mechanics on a shoestring budget while failing school. That's his whole deal. Instead, the film says, what if it just came out of his arm like a horror movie? Instant outrage. Crazy. That's gross. That's wrong. That's not my Peter. My Peter secretes webbing the correct way. Green Goblin shows up looking like a Green Power Ranger's war crime cousin. They stuff Willem Dafoe's face behind a plastic mask, and we're supposed to take his monologue seriously? Well, he looks like a rejected theme park mascot. Then Spider-Man 3 comes along and serves us what? Emo hair? Jazz club music, pelvic thrusts down the sidewalk, and we as a society absolutely lose it. They made him cringe. How dare they? As if Spider-Man hasn't always been cringe. He's a guy who quips into the void while swinging in red and blue pajamas. He's a cringe given human form. When I was a kid, I thought the final fight between Peter and Goblin in the first Raimi film was the most brutal thing I've ever seen. Watching it now, it looks like two guys in a rubber suit taking turns falling onto bricks. And yet, somehow, anything that doesn't perfectly line up with my hazy childhood memories is hearsay. These new movies are too silly, too flashy, too weird. Right, because the film where Peter Parker gets possessed by an alien costume and then struts down a jazz club were sober masterpieces of restraint. All the movies suck. And so did the cartoons! Every animated Spider-Man has its turn being blamed for murdering the character. The 90s show? Too serialized. Too many clones. Why are there time-traveling arcs? Why am I emotionally invested in an alternate universe Spider-Man with a coat? Spectacular Spider-Man? Why do they look like this? Why are their heads slightly stylized? Why is this writing better than I deserve? Ultimate Spider-Man breaks the fourth wall, cracking jokes, has cutaway gags, and people clutch their pearls like Peter Parker is talking directly to the camera is somehow worse than him making a deal with Satan in the comics. Anytime they try something visually interesting or narratively weird or totally different, someone somewhere says, that's it. This version killed Spider-Man. They changed him forever. It's over. As if he hadn't already been torn to shreds in the mediums he actually came from, the comics. Because on the page, they've done everything short of turning him into a literal god spider from Brooklyn. And honestly, I might have just missed that arc. We had the clone saga where Peter might be the clone and Ben might be the real Peter, or maybe it's the other guy is the clone, or maybe they're both clones. Or maybe the writer just really liked the word clone. They introduced a character named Spider-Side. People burned their issues, swore off Marvel. They don't understand Peter Parker anymore. Then one more day arrives like a meteor. Peter Parker, champion of responsibility, makes a deal with the actual devil like he's signing a new phone contract. He sacrifices his entire marriage to save Aunt May. This is disgusting! They assassinated his character. I will never read another issue of Spider-Man in my life, said the person who continued reading every issue of Spider-Man. Then they reboot him into Brand New Day, fling him back into his bachelor life, give him new roommates and supporting cast, and act like half his emotional history just evaporated. Then Dr. Octopus crawls into his body during Superior Spider-Man and decides he'll make a better Peter than Peter Parker. Pure outrage. Years later, it's on everyone's top 10 modern Spider-Man runs list. He's grown extra arms. He's turned into a giant spider. He's died. He's come back. He's had radioactive, romance that killed Mary Jane in a future storyline. He's been replaced by Miles, by Ben, by Miguel, by every version of a Spider-Person under the sun. He's been rebooted, retconned, relaunched, and renumbered, and repackaged more times than I can count. Every time without fail, they've ruined Spider-Man forever. And then 10 years later, some other change comes along, and suddenly that previous, supposedly unforgivable crime is remembered as the last time things were actually good. And if that somehow isn't enough, if you still think there was some pure, untouched era of Spider-Man before they messed him up, we can go way back to the origins, because even the invention of Spider-Man would get shredded if it happened today. A teenage superhero as the lead? Not a sidekick, not a mascot, the main character? People should be furious. He's too young. He's too unresponsible. This is pandering to the young demographic. A character based on a spider, not a noble animal like a lion or an eagle, a bug, an insect, something you smash under your shoe. This is ridiculous. Next, you're gonna tell me there's a squirrel girl. He's anxious. He's worried about money. He's socially awkward. He gets bullied. He has acne. His costume covers his entire face. What is this? If Twitter existed in 62, every other tweet would be, he's just a discount Batman with bug-themed. Mid. Won't last. All I'm saying is that he's a menace to society and he should be thrown in jail!